I'm 87 years old, and 3 weeks ago, a question from a complete stranger made me realize I've been lying to myself for 67 years. Not a small lie. The kind of lie that costs you everything that actually matters while convincing you you're winning. The question was simple 5 words. But those 5 words pulled back a curtain I'd spent nearly 7 decades keeping closed. And what I saw behind it, I'm not sure I'll ever forgive myself. You're probably thinking, what question could possibly do that? I'll tell you. But first, you need to understand something about me. I'm not some failure who wasted his life. I'm the opposite. I did everything right. Everything society tells you to do, I did it. Better than most people, actually. At 20, I graduated top of my engineering class. At 30, I was running projects that put my name in industry magazines. At 45, I founded my own firm. At 60, I sold it for more money than 3 generations of my family had earned combined. I had respect. I had security. I had a legacy. Or so I thought. Maybe you're like I was at 25 or 35 or even 55, working hard, building something, telling yourself that all the sacrifice will be worth it, that you're doing this for the people you love, even while you're barely seeing them. That's what I told myself. For 67 years, that's the story I believed. 3 weeks ago, I found out it was all a lie. Let me take you back. 1957. I'm 20 years old, fresh out of university with an engineering degree and something to prove. You see, I grew up with nothing. My father worked in a factory, came home exhausted every single night, died at 58 from a heart that just gave out. I remember standing at his funeral thinking, I'm not going to live like that. I'm going to build something that matters. So I worked. God, did I work. I got a job at Thomson Engineering in Manchester. They were building infrastructure across England, bridges, roads, systems that would last generations. And I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself, something that would outlast me. In those first years, I worked 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. My colleagues would leave at 5:30 and I'd stay until 9, 10, sometimes midnight. I told myself I was getting ahead. I told myself this was temporary. I met my wife Carol in 1960. She was a nurse at the hospital near my office. I was there because I'd worked myself into exhaustion and collapsed at my desk. She brought me water and told me I was being foolish. I married her 6 months later. At the time, it seemed, I don't know, romantic. The driven young engineer and the caring nurse. She understood my ambitions, or at least I thought she did. We had our first child, David, in 1963. I was 26. I remember holding him in the hospital, this tiny human, thinking, I'm going to give you everything I never had. But here's what I didn't understand then. When I said everything I never had, I meant money, security, opportunity. I didn't realize that what I actually never had was a father who was present. Looking back, the signs were there from the beginning. David's first steps, I was at a construction site 3 hours away. His first day of school, I had a meeting with investors that I told cash I couldn't miss. When he was 7, he asked me to teach him to ride a bicycle. I said, "This weekend, son." That weekend turned into next weekend, which turned into next month. By the time I actually had time, he'd already learned from the neighbor's father. He never asked me again. But I didn't see it as a loss. I saw it as efficiency. He learned anyway, right? And I was at work, building something, earning money that would pay for his education, his future. Our daughter Emma came along in 1968. Same pattern, different child. By the time I was 35, I'd been promoted twice. I was managing entire projects, traveling constantly. London, Birmingham, Edinburgh, sometimes Europe. Carol stopped complaining about my absence, not because she accepted it, but because she realized complaining changed nothing. I told myself she understood, that she was proud of what I was building. I'm 87 now and I can see the truth. She didn't understand. She just gave up. The children grew. David struggled in school, had trouble with math with confidence. Carol suggested family counseling. I said we didn't need counseling. He just needed to apply himself, to toughen up. Besides, I was too busy to sit in some therapist's office talking about feelings. Emma was quieter, artistic. She'd show me drawings she'd made, stories she'd written. I'd glance at them, say, "Very nice, sweetheart," and go back to my blueprints. I didn't know then that she stopped showing me her work after a while. I didn't notice the exact moment she stopped trying. Here's the thing about sacrifice. When you're making it, it feels noble. It feels like strength, like responsibility. You're the provider, the builder, the man who does what needs to be done. You don't feel the distance growing. It happens in inches, not miles. By the time I was 45, I'd left Thompson and started my own consulting firm. This was it, I thought. This was what all those years of sacrifice were for. Build something of my own. Create something lasting. I threw myself into it completely. David was 19 at university. We'd talk maybe once a month on the phone. Conversations that lasted 5, maybe 10 minutes. "How are your studies?" "Fine, Dad." "Do you need anything?" "No, I'm good." "All right then, work hard." I thought we had a relationship. Emma was 14, the age when daughters supposedly need their fathers most. Also, Carol kept telling me. But Emma had already learned I wasn't available. She stopped asking me to her school events, her art shows. She'd tell her mother and Carol would go alone. When I was 52, Carol got sick. Nothing life-threatening, but she needed surgery, needed recovery time. I took 3 days off work. 3 days. Then I was back at the office because we had a critical deadline. She never said anything about it. That's what kills me now. She never said, "I needed you and you weren't there." She just accepted it. The years blurred together after that. Work, success, more work, more success, accolades, recognition. My firm was thriving. I told myself I was winning. David got married at 28. I was at the wedding, of course, but I'd been so busy with work that I'd only met his fiancée twice before the ceremony. During his speech, he thanked everyone who helped raise him. He looked at his mother. He didn't look at me. Emma moved to France for art school at 22. I thought it was temporary, a phase. She never moved back. At 60, I sold my firm. The number was staggering. more money than I'd ever dreamed of as a young man. I thought, finally, now I can relax. Now I can spend time with family. But here's what I didn't understand: time doesn't wait for you to be ready, and relationships don't pause while you're busy. Carol died when I was 71. It was sudden, a stroke. She was there one morning, making tea, humming to herself. By evening, she was gone. At her funeral, I stood there in shock. We'd been married 51 years. 51 years. And I kept thinking, we were supposed to have time. I was supposed to finally be present. We were supposed to travel, to talk, to make up for all those years I was working. But we never got the time. After she died, the house felt enormous and empty. I walked through rooms we'd lived in for decades, and I realized I barely knew my own wife. Her favorite book, I didn't know. The dreams she'd given up, no idea. The things she'd wanted to tell me, but stopped because I was always too tired, too distracted, too busy. Gone. All gone. David called occasionally. Judy calls, checking on the old man. But our conversations were still the same. Service level, polite, distant. Emma called less. She had her life in Paris. A partner I'd never met, a gallery career I knew nothing about. I told myself this was normal. This is what happens when children grow up. They move on. They have their own lives. But I knew, deep down, I knew the distance wasn't normal. It was earned by me. By 67 years of choosing work over presence. For 16 years after Carol died, I lived alone, comfortable, financially secure. Alone. I filled my time, joined clubs, volunteered, tried to stay busy because busy meant I didn't have to think too much about what I'd lost. And 3 weeks ago, I was at the grocery store. Simple errand, nothing special. I was at the checkout and the young man scanning my items, maybe 25 years old, he was making small talk. Friendly kid. He noticed I was buying just a few things, single portions, meals for one. And he said something about his own grandfather, how they talked every Sunday, how his grandfather taught him to fish, to fix things, told him stories about the war. I nodded politely. Then he looked at me, completely innocent, completely genuine, and asked, "Do your grandchildren come visit you often?" I opened my mouth to answer, and I realized I couldn't. David has 3 children. I've met them, of course, at the family gatherings, holidays, but visit me, call me, come to my house to spend time with their grandfather. Number. They don't know me, not really. And the worst part, I don't really know them either. I know their names, I know their ages, but I don't know what makes them laugh, what they're afraid of, what they dream about. I stood there at the checkout counter, this young man waiting for my answer, and I felt something crack open inside my chest. I mumbled something vague, paid, left quickly. But that question followed me home. Do your grandchildren come visit you often? It followed me for days, weeks. And then last week, I did something I probably should have done decades ago. I called David, really called him. Not the usual 5-minute check-in. I asked him if we could talk, really talk. There was a long silence on the phone. Then he said, "About what, Dad?" And I said, "About why you barely speak to me, about why your children don't know me, about everything I got wrong." Another silence. Then David said something that broke what was left of my heart. He said, "Dad, I'm 61 years old. I stopped waiting for you to see me when I was about 12 years old." He told me that he'd spent his childhood trying to earn my attention, trying to be good enough, smart enough, successful enough that I'd finally be proud, finally show up. But I never did. Not really. He said when his own children were born, he made a decision. He decided to be the father to them that I never was to him. Present, engaged, available. And because of that, because he'd built that life, there wasn't really room in it for the grandfather who'd never learned how to be a father. Emma's story was different but the same. She told me that she spent years trying to show me who she was. Her art, her passions, her dreams. And I'd never really looked, never really seen her. She said she moved to France partly for opportunity, but mostly because she was tired of feeling invisible in her own father's life. I'm 87 years old. I built a successful company. I accumulated wealth. I achieved everything I set out to achieve. And I lost everything that actually mattered. Not because of some tragedy. Not because of circumstances beyond my control. Because I chose wrong. Every single day for 67 years, I chose wrong. Here's what I know now, sitting in this big empty house with all my money and all my regrets. Success without presence is just expensive loneliness. You can't earn back time. You can't purchase relationships you let die. You can't work hard enough to resurrect moments you missed. If you're watching this and you're telling yourself that you're working hard for your family, I need you to hear me. Your family doesn't want your money, not really. They want you, your time, your attention, your presence. That project you can't miss. You can't miss it. You can. That promotion you're chasing, it won't love you back. That deadline that feels so critical. In 10 years, you won't even remember what it was. But you will remember your daughter's school play that you skipped. You will remember the weekend you were too busy to teach your son something he wanted to learn. You will remember choosing work over the people who needed you. I've lived long enough to see the end of the story. And here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. When you're old and dying, you won't wish you'd worked more. You won't wish you'd made more money or achieved more status. You'll wish you'd been there. You'll wish you'd paid attention. You'll wish you'd said, "I love you" more and "I'm too busy" less. I'm trying to repair things now with David and Emma. It's slow, it's awkward. There's a lifetime of distance to bridge. I don't know if we'll ever get there fully, but I'm trying. Because trying is all I have left. If you're 25 or 35 or 45 and you're killing yourself for work, stop. Just stop. Look at your children if you have them. Really look at them. They're growing every single day. Every day you're not, there is a day you'll never get back. Look at your partner. They're choosing you every day. Don't make them regret that choice by giving them only your exhaustion and absence. Ask yourself this question and answer it honestly. If you died tomorrow, would the people you love feel like they really knew you? Would they have memories of your presence or just memories of your absence? That young man at the grocery store asked me if my grandchildren visit often. The answer is no. And that's the price I paid for 67 years of choosing work over life. Don't wait like I did. Don't tell yourself you'll make time later. Don't believe the lie that sacrifice now means happiness later. Later might not come. And even if it does, the people you're sacrificing for might not be waiting anymore. I'm 87 years old. I can't fix my past, but you can fix your future right now. Today. Put down your phone, close your laptop, leave work at a reasonable hour, show up for dinner, be present for bedtime, ask real questions and actually listen to the answers. Choose people over productivity. Choose presence over progress. Choose love over achievement. Because I promise you, when you're old like me, looking back at your life, the spreadsheets won't matter. The promotions won't matter. The money won't matter. What will matter is whether you were there, whether you showed up, whether the people you loved felt loved by you. Don't let a stranger's innocent question be the thing that finally makes you see what you've lost. See it now, while there's still time to choose differently. If this resonates with you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment and tell me one thing you're going to do differently starting today. And subscribe because I have more truths to share. Not much time left to share them, but I'm going to use what I have. The clock is ticking for all of us. What are you going to do with your time?